In the heart of Seoul, where the skyline hums with ambition and K-pop shapes global trends, a quiet storm is gathering at HYB headquarters. Band Si-hyuk, the architect behind BTS's unprecedented global dominance, is reportedly preparing for a transformative shift within the group. While official details remain elusive and speculative at best, insiders suggest that this change could reshape not only BTS's future, but the very foundation of HYB's identity. Whispers of internal restructuring have begun to ripple through the fandom, creating a vortex of curiosity, anxiety, and anticipation. And at the center of it all, Jin, the eldest BTS member, appears to be the axis on which this monumental pivot may hinge. The announcement, or rather the absence of one, has left room for interpretation, rumors, and rampant theorizing. What is Bang Si-hyuk truly planning? Why now, when BTS stands at a crossroads with enlistments winding down and reunion energy building up? Is this an artistic renaissance or a corporate recalibration? One thing is certain, the fandom is no stranger to evolution, but this time, the silence feels different. The calculated pause from both HYB and the members signals a deeper, more seismic transformation. Bang Si-hyuk has always been a figure of vision, reserved yet profoundly influential. The man who once guided 7 boys from a small company into global superstardom is not one to move without intention. Yet even those closest to him admit that recent internal meetings have carried an unfamiliar weight. No clear memos, no official press releases, and yet an undeniable sense that something is stirring beneath the surface. According to whispers within industry circles, this isn't a mere stylistic change or new musical direction. It's structural, fundamental, and potentially radical. And while the details remain locked behind closed doors, what has been observed externally has only fueled the speculation. Jin, recently returned from his military service, has found himself increasingly in the spotlight, not through official activities, but through his visible alignment with HYB's top brass. His appearances at exclusive closed-door sessions, extended one-on-one meetings with Bang Si-hyuk, and strategic absences from certain public events have all raised eyebrows. Industry watchers can't help but notice. Jin's role is evolving, and it may be far beyond what fans once envisioned. Is Jin being prepared for a leadership role beyond the stage? Could he become the public face of HYB's next chapter, or even a co-architect of its reinvention? Or is he simply the emotional heart of the group, being centered as the transition approaches to provide a sense of continuity? Whatever the truth may be, the shift is undeniable. Jin's calm, mature demeanor, combined with his nuanced understanding of both fandom and artistry, makes him a natural pillar during uncertain times. The rest of BTS, RM, Jimin, V, Jungkook, Suga, and J-Hope remain outwardly silent. No statements have been made, no schedules confirmed. Their current activities, many tied to individual projects or military obligations, remain largely uncoordinated. For a group that once moved as a single unit, 7 voices, 7 bodies, 1 heartbeat, this distance feels strange. Yet perhaps it is part of the greater choreography Bang Si-hyuk is orchestrating. A brief dissonance before a grander harmony returns. But how do you reshape a phenomenon without risking its soul? That is the question now hanging over Bang Si-hyuk. Any alteration to BTS, no matter how subtle or strategic, carries immense risk. This is not just a band. It is a movement, a symbol, a living embodiment of resilience and unity. The army doesn't merely follow BTS, they believe in them. They've grown with them, cried with them, healed with them. To alter the dynamic of that bond requires surgical precision and boundless empathy. Some speculate this could be a response to the evolving music industry landscape. With K-pop's globalization accelerating and new markets demanding new forms of engagement, perhaps Bang Si-hyuk sees this as the time to redefine what a post-military BTS looks like. Not just 7 performers, but 7 cultural architects with broader roles: directors, producers, entrepreneurs, and ambassadors of an evolving Hallyu wave. Others wonder if internal tensions, generational shifts, or even creative burnout could be motivating the change. There's also the unspoken element of time. BTS is maturing, both as individuals and as artists. The boys who once sang of youthful rebellion are now men navigating fame, responsibility, and legacy. The realignment may not be a rupture, but a rite of passage. One that reflects the natural evolution of identity, artistry, and influence. But in the absence of clarity, narratives fill the void. Some fans worry that this transformation may dilute the intimacy they once felt. that the commercialization or restructuring of BTS could alienate what made them feel so human. Others are optimistic, believing that change is the only way forward. That Bang Si-hyuk, as he has done before, is simply guiding them to a new mountaintop. Still, the unanswered question remains. Why is Jin at the center of this all? Could it be his intrinsic link to the group's origin story? His deep connection to both the youngest and oldest members? Or perhaps Bang Si-hyuk sees in Jin the perfect bridge between past and future, between idol and innovator. As the eldest, Jin carries the symbolic torch of responsibility. But it's not just symbolism anymore. His actions, his presence, and his alignment with HYB suggest he is already playing a far more critical role behind the scenes. Point one insider, under strict anonymity, hinted that Jin is not just returning as a member. He's returning as something more. The dynamic has shifted. That cryptic statement has since ignited fan theories ranging from executive roles to creative directorship to even mentoring HYB's upcoming rookie groups. And while none of these are confirmed, they speak volumes about the aura now surrounding Jin. Meanwhile, the silence from the other members is equally intriguing. RM, long seen as the group's philosophical center, has remained characteristically thoughtful, avoiding comments on group direction. Jungkook and Jimin, despite active solo ventures, have steered clear of long-term career projections. Taehyung, with his artistic flair, has retreated into a quiet, introspective phase. And Suga, the ever-pragmatic producer, has appeared more reflective than assertive in recent communications. As for J-Hope, his ongoing service leaves him momentarily distanced from the conversations, at least publicly. Could all this be part of a carefully timed rollout? A new narrative arc in the making? If so, it's a masterclass in controlled anticipation. But it also places enormous pressure on whatever comes next, because the longer the silence lingers, the more volatile the emotional buildup becomes. And when the announcement eventually comes, whatever form it takes, it will not arrive in a vacuum. It will be judged not only on strategic merit but on emotional truth. At the core of BTS has always been sincerity. That's what fans responded to: their authenticity, their vulnerability, their humanity. No amount of planning can substitute for that. And that is likely what Bang Si-hyuk understands better than anyone. This transformation, however dramatic or minimal, will likely hinge not on innovation, but on preserving that soul. On reminding the world that even as the architecture changes, the heart remains the same. For now, all we have is silence. A carefully constructed pause. But in that silence, the future is taking shape. One whisper, one meeting, one decision at a time. And when it finally breaks, when Bang Si-hyuk steps forward and lifts the curtain, it won't just be a change. It will be a statement. A declaration that BTS is not finished evolving, that their story is far from over, and standing at the edge of that story, waiting to turn the page, is Jin. Not just a member, not just a voice, but perhaps the compass guiding the next chapter. Stay tuned, because history, once again, is preparing to be rewritten. But history doesn't rewrite itself without resistance. The deeper the roots of a legacy, the more fragile its branches become when touched. That's the tension now bubbling beneath the surface of HYB. How do you honor the mythology of BTS while daring to reinvent it? For Bang Si-hyuk, this may be the boldest gamble of his career. The man who was once a risk-taker when he bet on 7 unknown trainees is now a global mogul, and every move is watched not just by fans, but by investors, the media, and the industry at large. This isn't simply a managerial decision. It's a cultural event in the making. K-pop, like any living phenomenon, must evolve or risk calcifying into nostalgia. And perhaps Bang Si-hyuk understands that BTS, as a cultural force, cannot be preserved in amber. They must shift, stretch, and surprise. But unlike a rookie group rebranding itself, BTS carries a mythos. Every lyric, every gesture, every silence is weight. The audience doesn't just follow their music, they interpret their lives like scripture. Which is why this moment of transformation, quiet though it may be, feels holy, untouchable, dangerous. Jin's growing presence at the epicenter of these changes is not a coincidence. There's something symbolic about his reemergence aligning with HYB's reorganization. As the only member to complete his service, he returns with a clarity and calm that feels earned. His silence isn't passive, it's observant. And his leadership, once humorous and soft-spoken, has taken on a new edge. Those who've worked with him in recent months say there's a stillness about him now, a weight of knowing. As if Jin has already seen what's coming and is quietly preparing to hold it together. For fans, this triggers a storm of emotion. Some are bracing for a painful transformation, perhaps a reduced group schedule, or even the possibility of staggered exits. Others dare to hope that this marks the beginning of something greater, a more mature, multidimensional BTS that balances music with influence, personal projects with collective impact. But whatever the direction, one truth remains: it cannot succeed without the buy-in of the members. And as of now, none have officially confirmed their stance. This deliberate silence has become the loudest message. It forces everyone, fans, media, even HYB itself, to reflect rather than react. And in that reflection, deeper questions emerge. What does it mean to grow as artists when the world wants you frozen in time? Can BTS remain BTS without the old formulas? Without synchronized comebacks and shared dorm stories? What does unity look like when individuality has bloomed? Bang Si-hyuk's genius has always been in anticipation. He sees around corners. But this time, he's not just predicting trends, he's orchestrating a cultural metamorphosis. And he knows that the world is watching with a magnifying glass. BTS isn't just a product of musical talent, they're the product of emotional investment. Millions have seen themselves in these 7 men. They've grown up with them. Any shift in their identity is a shift in ours. That's what makes this transition so delicate. Point 1 can only imagine the scale of the discussions happening behind closed doors. Are we looking at a new governance structure within BTS? Are they preparing to transition into creative partners or co-owners of a new HYB division? Could Jin be tapped to lead a mentorship program for new artists, using his unique blend of charisma, discipline, and empathy to shape the next generation of idols? Or is this all a larger part of a strategic narrative, an orchestrated silence to create anticipation for BTS's full group comeback in 2026? The fanbase, known for its detective-level observations, has noted even the smallest signals. Jin's subtle changes in fashion, the shift in his public tone, the way Bang Si-hyuk's social media has avoided BTS content altogether. It's as if the storm is being held just at the edge of the sky, ominous, electrifying, and inevitable. What makes this moment truly monumental is its uncertainty. BTS has always been transparent with their fans, through V-Lives, Weverse posts, or even tearful award show speeches. But this time, the decision to remain quiet is strategic. It hints that what's coming is bigger than a comeback. It's not a new era. It might be a new species of artistry altogether, and that's what Bang Si-hyuk is likely betting on. Not just the endurance of BTS, but their ability to mutate gracefully, to outgrow even their own mythology, to become not just the kings of K-pop, but the architects of a new global artistic paradigm. For Jin, the weight of this moment is both a burden and a blessing. He represents both tradition and evolution, the past and the yet-to-be. As he steps deeper into HYB's decision-making chambers, he carries not just his own dreams, but the dreams of an entire generation. It's no longer just about vocals or visuals. It's about vision. And if there's anyone in BTS who understands the soul of this group beyond the surface, it's him. The world may not know what Bang Si-hyuk is planning, but if history is any guide, it won't be small. The man who built an empire on risk is now preparing for a leap into the unknown. And he's chosen Jin to walk with him toward that edge. The question now is, when the curtain finally lifts, will the world be ready for what they see? Or will the transformation of BTS become a mirror for how we perceive change itself? Until then, the silence continues. But it is not empty. It is charged with the weight of destiny, waiting for its moment to break. And when it does, it will not whisper. It will roar.